Have you ever just, stopped and really looked at something? Like the way light hits a wall or maybe a specific
Oh,
color?
absolutely. Those fleeting moments.
Exactly. And some artists, they just capture that with such intensity. It's like they're seeing something we're missing, some hidden layer.
Mhm.
And that's really what we're diving into today, this incredible power of artistic perception. How it takes the everyday and makes it, well, profound.
It is amazing, isn't it, how they can take a simple observation, something maybe we glance past, and turn it into art that just resonates so deeply. Makes you wonder what exactly they are seeing.
Totally. And actually, this whole train of thought got kicked off for us by an upcoming exhibit. It's called Snapshots in Oil, a solo show by the representational painter Michelle Quinn.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it opens June 7th, 2025, over at True Grit Art Gallery in Middleborough, Massachusetts. So we thought, okay, let's use Quinn's work as a sort of contemporary touchstone.
A way to look at this idea right now.
Exactly. And we'll bring in some, historical heavy hitters and philosophical ideas too, to really try and unpack how and why artists seem to experience the world so intensely.
So today is all about exploring that heightened vision, that different way of seeing that seems to define so much really powerful art. We'll look at artists, thinkers.
Yeah, we've got quite a lineup. We're talking Vincent van Gogh, William Blake, Edvard Munch, Georgia O'Keeffe, Kandinsky, Yayoi Kusama, Kerry James Marshall, Wangechi Mutu, Ibrahim El-Salahi.
A really diverse group.
And then on the philosophy side, to help us make sense of it all, we'll touch on thinkers like Schopenhauer, Nietzsche, Simone de Beauvoir, Suzanne Langer, Hannah Arendt, Iris Murdoch, Alain Locke, Aimé Césaire, and Masvia Chirumuta too.
It's fascinating how artists from such different backgrounds and times seem to share this depth of perception, and how philosophy tries to give us a language for it.
Right. So our mission today for you listening is to really get a feel for this deeper level of artistic experience. How does the ordinary become eternal? And we'll keep circling back to Michelle Quinn's show, thinking about how these big ideas might show up in her paintings.
Okay, so where do we start? What does it actually mean, this intense perception?
Hmm.
What's different about how an artist experiences, say, light or color?
Well, imagine experiencing the world with the volume turned way up, maybe.
Yeah, like all senses heightened. Light isn't just light. It has, I don't know, an emotional weight to it. Shadows aren't just absences of light. They carve out shapes, create mood.
And color seems to vibrate, almost like music for some artists. The lines, the forms of things, they seem loaded with meaning.
It feels much more visceral, right? A really emotionally charged way of interacting with reality.
Take Van Gogh. He wrote that amazing line, I dream my painting and then I paint my dream. And you really feel that in Starry Night, don't you? Those swirling, pulsing brushstrokes. It's not just a picture of the night sky. It feels like the feeling of the night sky, like his inner world is spilling out.
Absolutely. His emotional state wasn't just something in the painting. It actively shaped how he saw the world and how he put it down. That intensity you feel, that's his direct experience coming through.
And then someone like William Blake, totally a different vibe, much more mystical.
Hmm.
He wrote, to see a world in a grain of sand and a heaven in a wildflower. For him, the infinite was just right there in the ordinary.
Like in the Ancient of Days.
Yeah.
That image, it's cosmic, but it's also just this figure drawing a circle. He infused the mundane with the divine.
He saw the spiritual reality and the physical stuff around him, not just a flower, but heaven in the flower.
Exactly. A different kind of intensity.
Then you shift to Edvard Munch, and it's all about the psychological turmoil, isn't it?
Oh, definitely.
He talked about nature reflecting the inner pictures of the soul. And his Starry Night, same title as Van Gogh's, but feels so anxious, like his inner state is projected onto the landscape itself.
Right. It really drives home how subjective perception is. His emotional landscape is the filter.
Okay, let's switch gears a bit. Georgia O'Keeffe. Her focus was almost microscopic.
That intense close-up view.
She said she used color and shapes to say things she couldn't say otherwise. And when you look at Black Iris or that cow skull, these common objects become huge, almost abstract, because she zooms in so tightly.
She really shows the power of just paying attention. Magnifying those details reveals this hidden beauty, the significance you'd otherwise miss.
And Kandinsky, he pushed it even further into abstraction. He thought colors themselves had spiritual power.
Right, directly influencing the soul, he
Yeah.
said.
And composition it's like this explosion of color and form, almost synesthetic, like you can hear it. He's trying to translate pure sensory experience visually.
Kandinsky's big idea was that art didn't need to depict things literally. It could connect directly to our inner selves just through pure color and form.
Yeah.
Pretty radical.
Moving closer to our time, Yayoi Kusama, dots, infinity.
Obsessively, yeah.
She talked about wanting to measure the infinity of the unbounded universe with dots. And if you've ever been in one of her infinity mirrored rooms,
It's overwhelming.
right, this sense of endlessness, it literally stretches your perception of reality.
She pulls you right into her personal vision of the infinite. It's a completely unique perceptual experience she creates.
Then there's Kerry James Marshall, focusing on the vibrancy of Black urban life.
Such powerful work.
He said he wants to make work as real as the world I live in, where Black people are subjects of beauty and power. Look at Untitled, Alt Guild Gardens, the bold colors, the composition. It gives everyday scenes such dignity.
Marshall really shifts the narrative, doesn't he? He
Yep.
centers Black experience in a way that challenges the traditional art historical view. It's a crucial perspective.
And Wangechi Mutu, her collages are incredible, surreal, reimagining bodies and landscapes.
Exploring history, identity.
Yeah, she said, the body becomes a map of history and imagination. Works like Writing Death in My Sleep, they create these unsettling new ways of seeing, rooted in post-colonial thought.
Mutu forces us to look differently, using fragmentation and the surreal to tackle really complex issues.
And lastly, let's think about Ibrahim El-Salahi. He merges spiritual feelings with urban rhythms. He described feeling the city's energy like a pulse that lifts me, feeling almost drunk on the rhythm. And his work, like The Inevitable, it weaves African motifs with these really dynamic lines, shows you can perceive even a city with this deep spiritual intensity.
El-Salahi's genius is partly in synthesizing all these different cultural and sensory inputs into something cohesive and deeply felt.
So yeah, across all these artists, different times, different styles, there's this common thread, right? This heightened way of seeing, of engaging, that lets them turn their specific experience into something lasting and meaningful for us.
It really does make you wonder, what is it about the artistic mindset that unlocks that? And, well, that brings us nicely to philosophy, doesn't it? Trying to find frameworks for this stuff.
Exactly. Let's dive into some of those ideas. Arthur Schopenhauer, for instance, talked about will-less knowing.
Okay.
The idea basically is that art gives us a break from our everyday wants and worries. It lets the artist and us as viewers perceive the pure essence of things, the timeless ideas, as he called them.
So that's maybe why a Van Gogh's sky or an O'Keeffe flower feels like more than just a picture. It connects to something deeper, more universal.
Yeah, that's the thought. You transcend your own stuff for a moment and grasp something fundamental.
Interesting.
And then there's Nietzsche. He talked about this balance or maybe tension between Apollonian order and Dionysian kind of ecstasy or chaos.
Right. In The Birth of
You
Tragedy.
think about Munch again. His work feels so raw, so emotional, almost chaotic sometimes, but it's still composed, structured.
Or Kandinsky, channeling that intense inner energy into abstract forms.
Yeah.
Even Kusama's dots, they're overwhelming, maybe chaotic feeling, but there's a definite order, a repetition there.
So for Nietzsche, art was this amazing force that could take the messy, chaotic parts of life and transform them into something meaningful, something beautiful even.
So his framework helps us see how artists can kind of harness that intense feeling, that chaos, and give it form. Find structure within the feeling.
What about Simone de Beauvoir? She saw art as an act of existential freedom.
Meaning.
Well, in a world that doesn't just hand us meaning on a plate, artists create it. Think about Wangechi Mutu again, pushing boundaries with her surreal images, or Kerry James Marshall claiming space for Black stories in art. They're asserting their vision, defining reality on their own terms.
So de Beauvoir emphasizes the artist's agency. They're not just reflecting the world, they're actively shaping how we understand it, often pushing back against the status quo.
Yeah, and Suzanne Langer argued that art is basically a symbolic language for human feeling. So those intense brushstrokes in Van Gogh or the rhythmic lines in El-Salahi, they're not just showing you a scene. Langer would say they're actually capturing the patterns of emotion, making invisible feelings visible.
So art communicates emotion in a way words sometimes can't. It gives form to the inner world.
Then Hannah Arendt, she saw aesthetic experience as a communal thing.
How so?
When you encounter art together, like in a gallery, or even looking at Blake's prints or stepping into a Kusama room, it creates a shared space. A space for us to discuss, to judge, to make meaning together. It's not purely individual.
So art connects people. It fosters dialogue and shared understanding. That makes sense.
And Iris Murdoch had this concept of unselfing.
Unselfing.
Yeah, the idea that genuine art comes from a selfless attention, where the artist's ego kind of dissolves because they're so focused on the subject, seeing it with love almost. You feel that in O'Keeffe's deep look at a flower or the quiet stillness in an Edward Hopper painting.
So true artistic vision needs this, letting go of the self, a really deep, empathetic connection to the subject.
That's Murdoch's angle. Then Alain Locke, especially in The New Negro, focused on how art can reshape our vision, particularly around race.
Right, challenging prejudice.
He talked about art needing to discover and reveal the beauty which prejudice and caricature have overlaid. Think of Marshall again, celebrating Black life, or El Salahi, drawing on non-Western traditions. They're using art to make us see differently, challenging Eurocentric norms.
Locke really highlights art's critical role in pushing back against dominant narratives, making visible what's been ignored or twisted.
And Aimé Césaire, the poet, saw art as revolutionary knowledge.
How did he mean that?
He felt poetic knowledge, the kind you get from art, arises where science falls silent. He said, it is the image that is the truth. That really clicks with surrealism or intensely emotive painting, right? That raw force in Munch, for instance. It feels like a different kind of truth.
Césaire points to the unique insights art offers, insights beyond just logic or science, tapping into something more intuitive, more resonant emotionally.
And finally, a really interesting contemporary take from Masvida Chirimuta. In Outside Color, she argues color isn't just an object, it's something our minds do, a perceptual process.
Whoa.
She even mentions El Salahi's The Tree, saying colors are how things appear to us, how we perceive them, which loops back beautifully to Kandinsky and his colors influencing the soul, doesn't it? Our perception literally shapes our reality.
Chirimuta reminds us that seeing isn't passive. We're actively interpreting, and our senses and minds shape that whole experience. And artists, they're masters at playing with those perceptual processes.
So yeah, all these philosophical angles from metaphysics to social critique to how perception actually works, they really enrich our understanding of that intense artistic vision.
And it's against this backdrop, this rich tapestry of ideas, that Michelle Quinn's upcoming show, Snapshots in Oil, feels even more relevant, doesn't it? It's like seeing this intense perception happening right now.
Absolutely. So again, that's Snapshots in Oil by Michelle Quinn, True Grit Art Gallery in Middleborough, Massachusetts, June 7th to June 28th, 2025. And the opening reception is Saturday, June 7th, 6 to 8 p.m.
And what's great is how Quinn herself talks about her work. It really echoes a lot of what we've just been discussing.
It really does. She talks about focusing on capturing small, quiet instants with brush and paint. Right away, that signals this deep attention to, the beauty in fleeting moments.
That close looking we talked about.
She mentions painting things like a fleeting glow of sunlight on the ocean, the rhythm of waves off the coast of Narragansett Bay, the serenity of a winding road in Ireland, or just glimpses of my hometown of Norfolk, Massachusetts.
Very specific, very personal observations.
Yeah, like collecting little fragments of beauty. And she calls her paintings meditations in color, mood, and memory, a window into my world.
That phrase, a window into my world, that's perfect. That's exactly what artists offer us, isn't it? A chance to see through their eyes.
And I really love this bit where she calls painting her thing.
Her thing.
Yeah, she says it's a thing that grounds me, challenges me, and brings me peace. And then she adds, we all need a thing.
Oh, I like that.
It really speaks to that deep personal drive, that connection to making something that seems so vital for so many artists.
And that idea of finding your thing, it connects back to de Beauvoir, maybe.
Yeah.
Creating meaning through your actions, your commitments.
Yeah, possibly. And when you think about her subjects, you can definitely see connections to the artists we mentioned earlier.
Like how?
Well, that fleeting glow of sunlight on the ocean makes you think of Van Gogh's light, maybe even Sargent's water reflections, the rhythm of waves. That sounds like the energy in a Childe Hassam painting.
Okay, yeah.
And her glimpses of my hometown of Norfolk that feels close to Kerry James Marshall's focus on the beauty of everyday community life, right? Those fleeting light moments. Maybe they're Schopenhauer's eternal forms glimpsed briefly.
Ah, interesting connection.
Her meditation in color, mood, and memory feels very much like Langer's idea of art expressing feeling symbolically, the joy and peace she finds. Maybe that's Murdoch's unselfing in action. And painting being her thing. Maybe that's de Beauvoir's existential freedom again, sharing her vision in an exhibit. That's Arndt's communal aesthetic space. It makes her art feel so accessible. Like she's sharing her vision, yes, but also tapping into something universal, that potential for wonder, for intense engagement that maybe we all have.
It's a lovely thought that maybe artists just have a more practiced way of seeing, but that deep engagement with the world, that's available to everyone. So wrapping up, building on Michelle Quinn's idea, what's your thing? You know, that pursuit, that interest, that something that grounds you, challenges you, brings you peace. And maybe, just maybe, if you pay a little closer attention to the seemingly ordinary moments around you, you might find some extraordinary beauty and insight hiding in plain sight too.